So welcome everyone. My name is Angela Ripley, and I'll be speaking to you today about operationalizing CBE at Bow Valley College. And my title slide has an elephant on it because CBE and operationalizing sometimes don't go hand in hand. And the elephant in the room is actually getting it off the ground. So a big one. CBE is many things, and sometimes it's not easy, and this presentation is just meant to talk about some of the aspects that affect implementing and delivering CBE programming. So, like I said, this session is supposed to be participatory, so please jump in with any questions or add any information you'd like or questions in the chat, and I'd be happy to speak to them. And if you'd like to turn your cameras on, I'd really appreciate it. That'd be great. Like I said, then I don't have to worry about ChatGPT getting in there or some kind of AI bot. So I know I'm speaking to real people, so it's great. So before jumping into the presentation, and out of respect and in the spirit of reconciliation, I'd like to acknowledge that Bow Valley College in Canada aims to uphold the intention of the numbered friendship treaties from the perspective of Indigenous peoples. We also remain collectively accountable to respect Indigenous peoples' legal and inherited rights, recognizing we are all treaty peoples. Through our words and actions, Bow Valley College honors the traditional lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which includes the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani First Nations, as well as the Stoney Nakoda and the Tsuut'ina First Nation. We also recognize the connection and autonomy of the Métis Nation Region 3.
You froze on us.
Okay. Are we all good? Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. Thank you. So for the beginning of this presentation, I just like to survey everyone that's in this room. And if you'd like to turn your cameras on and chat, or if you'd like to just chat on the chat message, I just like to have informal, can you just round table? We'll just introduce ourselves, say where you are and where you are in your road and your CBE journey. So can we start with Cheryl Pearson?
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Pearson. I am faculty for the respiratory therapy program at LA Valley College in Los Angeles. And I'm also the program SLO coordinator on campus. And it's a shared, we also have a course SLO coordinator as well. So the two of us work together for our SLO assessment. And one of the reasons I think that I was chosen for the position is because our respiratory therapy program is part of the career technical education. And a lot of our SLOs are based on competencies and skills that the students have to perform or complete before they can graduate from the program. Whereas most of the rest of the college that isn't involved in the CTE under that label is not doing that. So my goal is to try and get the rest of the campus on board with competencies.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Welcome. Nathan?
Hi, I'm the curriculum coordinator and special projects manager at the University of Arkansas at Little Rock.
Okay.
And I also do a bit with assessment because I was one of those people who mistakenly told people I really liked it. And so they decided to throw me into everything they possibly could. As far as CBE goes, I've attended a summit with CBEN recently, and I'm now on the core leadership team trying to look at potentially bringing it to Arkansas and how that would look and how we could go about it. So I'm very interested in learning as much as possible.
Okay, excellent. Well, welcome. Thank you. Amanda?
I am the faculty coordinator of instructional design and outcomes at Ripley College. I was former ECE faculty, and I've been the outcomes coordinator for 6 years now, and I actually volunteered for the job. So
Okay.
I do love assessment, and I'm heavily involved in advocating for standards-based grading and assessment on our campus, which is new for the California Community College, which is where I'm at. I'm at Ripley College in Central Valley of California.
Okay, great. Thank you. Deidre?
Hi, everyone. I'm Deidre Pennington. I'm at Radford University in Radford, Virginia, and Roanoke, Virginia. I'm the RN2BSN coordinator, and we are very early on in exploring CBE. We have a robust healthcare college, so we have numerous programs that we are just starting to investigate and see which programs we may want to convert over to CBE.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Tara?
Hi, I'm Tara Chitwood. I am the undergraduate chair for Radford University School of Nursing, and Dee is my coworker, and I'm doing the exact same thing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Jamie?
Hi, I'm Jamie Wilson. I am an instructional designer here at El Paso Community College in Texas. We are about a year into offering CBE courses. We have about 15 courses. We haven't, the intention is to develop programs, but we haven't developed the programs all out yet because that takes quite a bit of time. So we've started offering the courses individually. And so that's where we are.
Okay, great. Thank you. Marjorie?
I'm also from Radford University. I'm the coordinator for the nursing leadership program in the Doctor of Nursing practice, also for working in the family nurse practitioner program. So
Okay,
same boat with all my colleagues from Radford University about CBE.
okay, perfect. Thank you. Ernie?
Yeah, hello, everyone. My name is Ernie Gomez. I'm with St. Anna College here in Orange County, California. The Criminal Justice Academies as the interim director. This was already presented to us briefly by a representative from the state task force on CBE. So that I get a better understanding and start really getting a deeper dive into understanding what it can do even for our program and obviously the other programs that we do here at the college. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Will?
Hi, everyone. I'm Will Roberts. I'm the Director of Outcomes Assessment at Nebraska Methodist College in Omaha. And all of our programs at our college are healthcare related. And so we're thinking CBE may be a good fit for some of our programs. So we haven't even gotten started, but I hope to learn a little bit today from all of you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Virginia?
Hi, I'm Virginia Stormer. I'm the Associate Director for Curriculum Development and Design in our Faculty Development Unit. And we're a large university, and so different departments are in different places. Obviously, our College of Nursing, they've fully switched over to competency-based learning, but part of my role is to help departments think through their student learning outcomes and their assessment. And if not necessarily fully switch over to CBE, but think about integrating competencies and how to do that in their curriculum.
Perfect. Thank you. April?
Hi, I am April Grant, a senior curriculum specialist at a private university, and I was just placed into a new role which is curriculum and assessment. So just here to learn as much as I can. I know our institution has been very interested in CBE for quite some time, so just gathering as much information as I can. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Becky?
Yeah, so I'm going to leave my video off if y'all don't mind. I get bad service or whatever when I turn the video on, so I'll keep it off, but I'm a real life person. I'm at the University of Wyoming in Laramie, Wyoming, and I'm approaching this, I feel like a real newbie person here. I coordinate our experiential learning program on campus. So it's more outside of the classroom, and it is competency based. But my goal is to introduce our program and the idea of competency to our faculty through the competencies that we use. So very new to this. Again, ours is more on the outside the classroom piece. So really just starting how we can work with faculty and get it in the classroom.
Perfect. Thank you. And Camilla?
Hello, I'm an early childhood professor from National Louis University, and we're fairly new to competency-based. We're embedding it into our courses. We're starting in our undergraduate program of teacher prep. So just really want to learn more about how you implemented the program.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks everyone. As we can see, we have a variety of different programming needs and a variety of different experiences in CBE. And like I said, my name, I'll just give you a quick introduction of where I am. So my name is Angela Ripley, and I currently work in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I've been involved in competency-based education for the last 20 years. I started off as a high school teacher, then moved into curriculum development, then I started managing learning departments. And the big exposure that I had to competency-based education was working with police officers. So I'm a police psychologist, industrial psychologist by trade, education consultant as well. So Bow Valley College brought me on to help re-envision a credit-based system into a competency-based system. So that is where I bring my expertise. And so I just want to give you a little bit of a history of Bow Valley College through this presentation, where we were, where we're going, and where we currently sit, some of our challenges and some of our successes that we've had along the way. So hopefully some of the information that we've already learned, I can impart that to you and it'll help you with your CBE journey. But like I said, I'd like to learn from your experience as well. So I'll ask a few questions through the presentation and feel free to jump in. So Bow Valley College is located in Calgary, like I had said, and for over 50 years, it's been a public comprehensive community access college, providing a range of career programming in business, healthcare, information technology, community, and human services. Credit programming includes certificates, diplomas, post-diploma certificates, and post-baccalaureate certificates. Non-credit programming includes our micro-credentials, which I'll be talking in depth about today. And I see we've had a couple of new folks that have joined the presentation. Hello to Enrique and Meredith. Meredith, we were just going around a round of introductions, just to introduce yourself and tell us where you are on your CBE journey. And that's okay if she might have stepped away, but Enrique, I know that you gave a little bit of a brief introduction in your keynote, but for those that might not have been present, can you just tell us where you are in your CBE experience and journey?
Fresno City College, we're in Central California. We haven't done anything with CBE. I know one of our sister college, Madera Community College, is piloting CBE. They're one of the 7 community colleges. We're 16 community colleges in California. For our sister college, what I have learned from them is that they have trouble. They started with the CTE, Career Technical Education disciplines, and so, but they're having some difficult, addressing the issues of CBE. As far as Fresno City College, we are just in the beginning stages.
Okay, great, perfect. Well, thanks everyone. So, and this, I'm just going to throw this out to everyone. When you think of operationalizing CBE or implementing CBE, what comes to mind?
Skills and competencies.
Assessing? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, assessing competency, sure.
I don't know about everyone else, but I'm currently in the process of thinking about how to get people on our side.
Okay, big on the change management and buy-in. Okay, it is a really big one. Cheryl?
I think that's the hardest part, is trying to figure out how to reach faculty that just see doing assessments as something that they have to do, as opposed to really reflecting on whether the SLOs that they have are meeting the needs of the students, so, and there's so much information out there on assessments and how to do them and making these changes that it feels overwhelming. So I'm kind of looking forward to the how to, give me a task so I can figure it out.
Right. Well, ours is going to be very task driven. Okay, thank you. So on those notes, we're going to be talking a little bit about that. Today's session is going to be talking about Bow Valley College's curriculum development model. We'll talk about the delivery model. We'll talk about those successes, and we'll talk about those challenges. So everything from the onset of identification of competencies all the way through to evaluating your competencies, getting folks on board, whether that be faculty or other staff or learners, and then all of the different departments that are impacted by offering a competency-based education approach and looking at authentic learning and authentic assessments. So the first pillar I'd like to start with is curriculum development. And I want to just walk you through what our process is of how we've started to develop competencies. So the first thing we do is we look at the industry need. So if we look at how we have to develop competency-based education programs, we must look at who we develop our competency-based education programs for. So we develop all programs with learners in mind so that graduates are able to meet the gap that exists within the industry. So that's been identified by our external partners and our labor market analysis and our labor market demand. So this allows the skilled workers who are looking for ways to adapt to the new economic landscape through targeted and efficient reskilling and upskilling opportunities that fits in with other commitments and obligations. So once we have that identified need, we then work with external partners and expert practitioners, those that are deemed experts in the roles, to help us develop the competencies required on the job. Our program and advisory committees also help in this step. So they help to reach out to make those connections with industry, with our external partners to say, what's upcoming, what's in need, where do you have gaps, what competencies are you not seeing being fulfilled right now? So we try to have a really tight partnership with externals. So if we jump right into what do we define a competency as, we define them as functional. So in order for them to be functional, we bake what they have to do alongside of their professional dispositions. So those attitudes, behaviors, and skill sets necessary to actually perform the role. So if we think of the observable technical tasks as the what you do, and the transversal or the professional skills is how you need to do these tasks, and we align that to a specific job function, then we can say a competency may represent a major duty or responsibility of a given occupation, role, position, or a job function. So if we think of a job role, it's a job title. So if you could say, if we said police officers, one of the job functions of a police officer might be conducting a traffic stop. So then we look at, okay, what are all the things that you need to do to conduct a traffic stop? And what are the professional dispositions that you must display? So we're hoping that our competencies described in this way are functional because they prepare graduates to actually function in the workplace effectively. So we take that information we get from the industry partners, the expert practitioners, we capture it, and we develop our curriculum. We get our assessments and we get our competencies validated by those experts in the industry to say, yes, this is exactly what we're looking for. So the first thing we do once we've identified a targeted job function, so a major responsibility of somebody in a job role, we then go ahead and we conduct what we call a job task analysis. So we work with expert practitioners. So those folks in industry currently doing the role, they can be subject matter experts. They can be somebody that might already be working in your industry or in your college or university. But we're really looking for them to be very task specific, not so much learning specific. We really just want to capture what is it that you do in your role. And we try to make sure that we have a varied, diverse practitioner list that we work with. So we might work with 6 or 7 expert practitioners to help us define this job task analysis. And then we send this out to a larger audience for validation. So that's a big part of validating our competencies. So if we look at this one slide, it's a competency profile, and which is the same as a job task analysis. Cheryl asked, can you use a job description? A job description generally tells you the skills and the attributes that they're looking for someone to do the job, and they may or may not describe the job according to its job functions. So they might say someone in this role is going to do this, this, and this, but then you're trying to say, but what does this mean? Specifics, like I really need to break it down. So you could use that information to help drive your job task analysis. Sometimes you can go to other resources like ONET in the United States is a really good comprehensive place to look at job task analysis, or occupational lists. So they'll give you the listing of like, here's the occupation, here's the sorts of skills that you need in this. But what we're doing beyond the skills is we also want to know, what is it that they do? Like, what are the technical tasks on a day-to-day basis this person does? Because then we drive our curriculum to make sure that the graduate is ready to do those tasks. But very good question. Thank you. So this competency profile details at first the competencies. So at the very top, you can see that this is for cloud computing. So the competency for this one is implement code and data services to fulfill stakeholder requirements. That's one of the major things that they have to do when they're in cloud computing. So then we say, okay, in that competency, can you help us understand what do you actually do? So one of the first things that they told us that they do is they develop a requirements document. So this is a major deliverable. And in my mind, when we do these job task analysis, I'm thinking, what would the learner do? Well, this is probably a deliverable that we're going to get the learner to work on. So then we try to figure out, okay, when you're developing this requirements document, what do you do when you develop a requirements document, whether that's meetings or collaboration or teamwork or problem solving? This is where you're going to get your transversal skills, or those 21st century skills, soft skills, some people call them. So this one, it said, identify stakeholder requirements, and then they're going to meet with the stakeholders. And this is where we really get to the minutia of what is it that you do, and what is a performance criteria? What would be a critical fail? What would be what would set off alarm bells if somebody didn't do something? And we flip that to the positive statement and say, okay, these are the necessary items or the critical actions that they have to do within this. So we detail this all out. So once we have this built, we can then take this as the blueprint to build our training programs. The tasks are broken down into their respective steps, and then the performance criteria. Like in the first one, we say develop a requirements document, and the step is, there's two steps, 1.1 and 1.2. First, you're going to identify the stakeholder requirements, and then you're going to create the requirements document. So in the first one, how would you know you have identified the stakeholder requirements correctly? Well, you're going to do these sort of things. So we use this as a foundational curriculum map, and this drives the rest of our curriculum. So what we do from that, so if you look at the competency profile, you can kind of, and I'll go back one slide, you can kind of see how it could be transferred into a 1-point rubric. Did they do this, yes or no? And so we really struggled for a long time trying to figure out, should we do a 4-point rubric? Should we say they're developing, they're almost there, they're proficient, and they're competent, or they're developing, they're competent, they're superior? So when we looked at superior, we thought, you know what, it's actually moving into a different job function. If they're superior, generally they are now doing these tasks and they are supervising others or they're coaching others. So we went with a 1-point grade scale, and we literally have said they're either developing or they're competent. Have they done it? It's a yes or a no. If they haven't done it, they're still in developing, they're going to continue to work on it. If they're competent, they have met that competency, they move on. So we don't have grades per se anymore. It's a 1-point scale, developing or competent. You get a point if you're competent, you get no points if you're developing, in our rubric that we use in our Brightspace or D2L. So once we have the criteria identified by the expert practitioners, We move this into what we call 1-point rubric, and we have all of the criteria listed. This is what they have to do. And at every one of these criteria, when the student tries to do their assessment, which is a performance demonstration, they get feedback on it, whether they did it well, what they need to do further, how they are going to progress. And everything is written down task by task, and the specifics of everything they need to do is written in there. So they can get a very clear snapshot of where they are. Once they have tried the assessment, and we drive the assessment with a performance demonstration expectation that they respond. Sometimes they respond to a scenario. Sometimes we say, here are all the criteria in the rubric. Please prove that you have this competence by demonstrating the following. And they can look at the rubric and say, you know what? I've done this in a previous life. I've done this in a previous experience. I have this and I can upload it. So then we can say, okay, but now we're going to put this in an interview format. We're going to get you walking through it, whether that's a video submission where they're saying, this is what I did, this is how I came up with this. We would have guided questions that we would want them to provide that justification for. From that initial competency profile, once we've developed our rubric and our performance criteria, we then backfill it with all of the learning that they would need in order to do the thing that we're asking them to do. So in this one, the competency is designing data analysis projects, and the learning objective is analyze business problems from a data analytics perspective. So we detail the assessment evidence. So what Bow Valley College will provide them: a template, a business model canvas, case studies and scenarios, and a data set sample in case they are not working in the industry. If they are working in the industry, they can use those examples. If they aren't, then we build that for them. And we say, okay, this is going to be a simulation. It's going to be a scenario. It's going to be based in the real world of what you would be expected to do. And then we tell them the assessment evidence of what we're looking for. So at the end of this, the learner is going to offer a few deliverables. So they're going to do a business model canvas, a process map, and the key performance indicator scorecard. So at the very left column, you can see that we have the learning objectives identified, which were the tasks that were identified in the competency profile. So we go 1.1, determine the business objective. That's what they need to do. And in order to do that, here are the 3 critical actions that they need to do. If I am a learner coming in and I have zero knowledge and I have no idea how to do the assessment, I can see the rubric, but I'm not really sure where to start. We have our curriculum scaffolded in 3 distinct categories. The first category is knowledge. So those are your concepts, your backgrounds, your theories, and anything that you need to do to acquire knowledge. So it could be following someone, could be asking questions, could be meeting with someone. So anything at all. And then we detail it and we build it out with a curriculum team with the instructors involved, that we say, here's all the content that you would need to know in order to do the thing that we're asking you to do. So if a learner comes in and says, I have zero knowledge, I am going to start there. I'm going to start in the background. And if a learner comes in and says, I already know all of that, I want to start in the practice. So what do I need to do to practice my skills in isolation or together? And then the apply column is for students who may say, I'm already doing this. I already have a workplace that I'm working in. I can apply these sorts of concepts. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it videotaped, and I'm going to submit it for assessment evidence. So essentially, our learning pathways broken down, 3 columns, scaffolded learning. It increases in complexity as they move through the competency, as they're trying to demonstrate competence. April, yes, I can send you my slides from this presentation. There's a question in the chat. So let's talk about one of the pillars of competency-based education. So developing the curriculum. If we think of one of the pillars of competency-based education as being learner-centered, what does that mean to you, and what does it look like in application of CBE? So I'll just throw that question out there. Does anybody have an idea on when you think learner-centered? What does that mean?
For me, I think it's just putting the information out there for the student. So like an example would be when you put a PowerPoint together, are you putting the material on the PowerPoint for your benefit? Or are you putting the material on the PowerPoint for the student's benefit?
Okay.
I also think it's a bit of what you just talked about, which is sort of meeting the students where they are. And I think what I saw on this previous slide was a lot of connections to universal design for learning. So students can start where they are, and you're not forcing learners to start with the basics if they already have the basics. And so really designing a course that allows students to thrive no matter where they are. And I think too, at the same time, not leaving behind students who maybe don't have that previous knowledge.
Right. And that's what we really struggled with too, about what does learner-centered mean and what does instructor-centered mean? So in our traditional delivery at Bow Valley College, an instructor comes into a cohort of students and they start from the beginning. So one of the challenges of competency-based education is that instructors and faculty and staff may say, but now you're asking me to manage 40 different learners in 40 different places. And my response usually is something like, but we always had 40 different learners in 40 different places. It's just that to manage 40 different learners in 40 different places, we guided the schedule according to getting through the curriculum. So now we have to flip that to go back to what does it mean for a learner coming in to get an education, and how do we personalize that learning to make sure that everyone can get to where they need to be from where they're currently at. So that's what we really started to try to develop towards, learner-centered. Let them choose where they are. We usually start with a survey. Where are you? Are you ready to start the assessment? Are you new? What are you most comfortable with? We give them access to the rubric from day one, and the rubric doesn't change. It's the same assessment. It's the same final assessment. It's the learning pathway that we have that has a variety of activities in it that they can start to showcase competence. They can start to challenge those prior experiences that they have to say, okay, I need to package this in such a way that they end up with a portfolio at the end of it, and then they can articulate their skills ready for that job interview. So let me show you what that looks like for us. So just like Virginia had just noted, our learning pathways are meant to meet the learner to where they are. So if we keep with the mountain theme from Calgary, Alberta, the Rocky Mountains, we start anywhere along this mountain. So if you're thinking about hiking or climbing a mountain, where are you? Like, are you more comfortable in the beginning? Are you going to stop at the first peak? Are you going to keep pushing on? Are you a mountaineer? You're going to keep going. So if we think of knowledge as like you're starting your journey, and then practice is like, okay, I've acquired enough skills that I can do a little bit more complicated activities. I'm going to move into practice simulations. I'm going to move into scenarios. I'm going to respond to case studies. I'm going to put myself in a simulation, all the way up into I am ready to go into the workplace. So whether we provide that as a connection in our work integrated learning program, or we offer a co-op, or we mentorship, or we can forge those connections with the employer to say, we have someone that is ready to start practicing the skills in the workplace. This is where they are. And we work with those kind of connections because really it's a win-win for the employer. They get to see a recent graduate or someone who could be a recent graduate looking for work, that they've already validated the curriculum and the assessments. And now they're starting to get to know the learner themselves. So our delivery model, we really focused on how can we make this learner-centered. So when someone enters into a program or a course in competency-based education, they get onboarded. So we tell them a little bit about competency-based education, what it looks like, what it will feel like, how it might be different, what they're used to, and how they're going to be doing this competency assessment. And right now we have up to 3 attempts. So they can do the final assessment up to 3 times. They get it from day one, they get the rubric, they get the scenario, and it's their choice. Are you ready to go in to showcase your competence? And they say, yes, I am. I'm ready. I've done this before. I'm confident. I want to take one of my first attempts right now as a diagnostic. And if they are deemed competent at that point, they get their credential. If they are not deemed competent and they still have to work on a few things, we give them a personalized learning plan, which is targeted from the rubric to say, here are a few things that you need to work on. And then here is your pathway. So we think you need to go back to knowledge in this task. We think you need to go back to practice in this task. And we think you're ready to try this in the workplace. So they try that, they go back, they decide when they're ready to come back to do the competency assessment within parameters, because we're still working in a time-based system. But essentially, we're trying to make learning the fixed, time being variable. So it's when they might want to try their assessment. We give them the guidelines and say, you know what, you should try your assessment probably by the end of the first 3 weeks. Try it, go back, go into your personalized learning plan, come back, try it again after you've worked on it. The instructor is there to help them with specific and immediate feedback at every step. So the instructor says, I'm going to give you immediate specific feedback on where you are from that performance demonstration I just saw you do. Now I want you to go back and I want you to work away asynchronously on these things. If you need help, I'm here. You can pass in any of those submissions. I will give you feedback, you know, keep trying, that sort of thing. So let's now switch gears to see how the curriculum is implemented. So we have a good idea of how we develop our curriculum, and look at our tiered approach in offering competency-based education. So before I get there, can I just ask, and a few people have already mentioned there was diplomas and programs, but what type of competency-based education credentials does your institution offer or thinking to offer? And you can just volunteer the answers, or you can put it in the chat.
I'll say where we've started with courses,
Okay.
with the intention to moving to programs.
Okay, perfect. And that would be one of my highest recommendations. Start small. We started really big and we tried to do a few programs at a time, and we were still working through our processes. And so we found that very challenging. So then we had to take a big step backwards to say, we're going to try one program, or we're going to try one course and see how it goes.
So that's interesting that you say that, because we were having a conversation about that today, because I guess we the way that we're doing it is not typical. What we've heard is that a lot of institutions, they develop the courses over time, and then when they release them is when the full program has been built out. Whereas what we're doing is we've developed courses, and as soon as the course is developed, we're releasing them so that students can take them. So students are able to take a CBE course and a regular face-to-face course or online course within a program. So it's not completely all CBE.
Okay. Okay. Others that I see in the chat, degrees, certificates, diplomas, and programs. So very similar. At Bow Valley College, we don't offer degrees, but we do offer programs, post-baccalaureates, post-diplomas, and we offer certificates. But I think this approach could be used at the degree level, as long as you can identify what they're going to be doing in the workforce. And as long as you can offer a tie to that, I find pretty much anything can be made within a competency-based education approach. So we offer also micro-credentials. So our micro-credentials are based in a job function. So one job function is one micro-credential or one competency. So our competencies are quite large. And underneath our competencies, we have learning outcomes, learning objectives, and the performance criteria. But the competencies are the anchor to the workforce. So our learning outcomes are very similar to what they were in traditional programming, but now our learning outcomes have to align back to a competency. So what are they doing in the workforce? So we started on the non-credit side, and I'll just take you through this for a moment before we get to our credit-based programming. So our non-credit, our micro-credentials, like I said, one job function equals one competency. So These are stackable and can ladder. So if you have several different job functions that equal a job role, so if you wanted to do like a practical nurse program, we might say, okay, in practical nursing, there are 6 competencies. Those 6 competencies then can become a micro-credential each. So if somebody is going into your programming and they do 3 of the competencies of the 6, and they want to choose a different path or they want to stop, they still have something that they can say at the end of the day that they have been assessed on and validated, and they have the skills ready to perform in the workplace on a validated competency profile and a validated assessment from industry. So they can say, okay, my transcript now shows I have these competencies. I am ready to perform these various functions within a role. So we believe that offers a bit more value than if someone starts a program and then doesn't continue. So now we're trying to figure out, how can we take our micro-credentials that can ladder into our program side? So we're building the same. So we're building a CBE and it's offered in a non-credit space, and we're building a CBE micro-credential that's also offered in a credit-based. And that has been very beneficial of us offering a tiered approach. So I know that this slide looks very complicated. I'm going to walk you through it. At the end of the day, a micro-credential is a digital credential, and this is what it looks like on the right-hand side. A traditional program progression is on the left. So learners would come into a set term, speed, and path. So they advance upon terms and have a number of courses they have to complete in a term. In a CBE program, a learner can come in and move through a series of competencies. And once they have achieved competency, they can move on to the next competency. And they don't have to do them in order unless it's specified within the profession. So we're starting to develop these micro-credentials within our programs, which equate to competencies. And this way, a learner can leave the program and still receive a credential that's relevant in the workplace. So our micro-credentials can be independent and stackable to form a certificate or diploma. And they can also ladder into a different program. So if there's a skill set or a job function that is, if we're looking at the IT sector, and maybe it's motion design or web-based design or cloud design, and that's needed in another job role, then they can port that micro-credential and say, I've already demonstrated competency here. I see that this competency exists in another path, and I can prove this. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I think some air went down the wrong way. So anyway, in our tiered approach, we have assessment only. So a student can come in and just challenge the assessment, which means a learner who is looking for a credential but doesn't necessarily need the learning pathway, they can take that assessment only. In our tier 2 are micro-credentials, that's in the non-credit space currently. They can come in and take just an aspect of a job function. They might not be going for the entire program. And in tier 3, that's the full CBE program. So that's a series of competencies. And I just want to ask other folks, when you are developing your delivery model for competency-based education, what might it look like? So does anyone here offer micro-credentials? Okay, right now it seems like no one's offering micro-credentials, which is okay. So mostly programs and diplomas. So now we can move into successes in operationalizing. I know a few of you have started your journey and a few of you are just looking to start your journey. But I do want to stress that there are successes all along the way. There are challenges along the way as well. But right now we can just move into some of the successes that we've had and some of the lessons learned. So the biggest one I think we would have to say is our industry partnerships. So working with external audiences, whether that be through industry, our program advisory committees, or our connections that we have with external partners or practitioners, having them come on board to be able to validate both our curriculum and our assessments has proven to be very successful. So then they know that Bow Valley College is offering something that they can in turn use. And sometimes we have developed competency-based education programs for industry based on their need. And so then we can say to industry, okay, we have 30 graduates that are ready because they've just taken this cloud computing diploma. Now they're ready to go into the workforce. The second one is our delivery model. So this assessment first approach. And like Virginia had mentioned, this really allows the learner a lot of autonomy and a lot of flexibility in how they want to target their own learning. Although it's guided and it has an instructor with feedback all along the steps, the learner really has the freedom to move within this assessment first approach. So assessment first to us is very similar to assessment on demand. When they are ready to take the assessment, they can. So once they've deemed, okay, I'm ready, I feel confident, I want to try it, it also acts as a diagnostic. Where are they? So they can try it again. If we have a small class and an instructor has the time and the capability to mark additional assessments, they might have more attempts than 3. But right now we've landed on 3 as a manageable number to try to get learners through, to make sure that they're getting all of the feedback they need. Go ahead, try your personalized learning pathway, come back to the assessment. So our faculty model currently hasn't really changed. We still have instructors within our program, and then their core duties of what an instructor used to do and what an instructor does now can be seen as remarkably different. The instructors are not spending a lot of time prepping because we have already developed all of the content, either with them or with other instructors, and we've had that content validated, that it's useful and it's relevant in today's workforce. And the instructor can come in and then work with the learners in a coaching manner to help facilitate their learning from where they are to where they need to be. The other major success that we had was breaking our learning pathway down, and that's allowed a lot of flexibility for our learners to come in where they need to. So if I'm a learner in cloud computing, I would have 0 knowledge, so I would just start in that knowledge pathway. And I'd say, I'm going to spend most of my time here until I'm feeling more comfortable. I'm going to move on after I know I can start to after I've done knowledge acquisition, I can go into knowledge application. So I'm starting to apply my knowledge, and now I'm ready to take that into application in the workplace. A few lessons learned that we've had along the way. No matter where you are in your CBE journey, there's always a few lessons learned. A couple of them really come down to the change management aspect that we talked to in the beginning of this session. It's really, CBE is a team journey. One person cannot do competency-based education. It has to really be a faculty model. It has to have incredible amount of buy-in, both from the executive all through the staff. So one of the most valuable things has been to come together as a collaborative team to workshop ideas and kind of bring people along at the same time. So, how do you think we should manage this? What do you think about offering a tiered model? What do you think about this assessment first? What do you think about a learning pathway? So that's helping staff and instructors understand the philosophy of the purpose and the intention behind competency-based education and the direction that we're going. One thing that we started was a community of practice. So we have 3 community of practices currently. And we're working with our instructional designers, we're working with our professional learning team, and we're working with our instructors or our staff to help do competency profiles, authentic assessments, authentic learning pathways, the delivery model, and what types of environments an instructor may find themselves in that can be helpful. So this has been really helpful. We offer ad hoc workshops. We offer one-on-one coaching for those that are interested in developing in competency-based education. And we also just have a running Teams that folks can put chat messages in, or they can work together to say, okay, I'm going to be working on a competency profile. What are some things that I need to be thinking of? What are some helpful tips? And the same with the assessments. The learner experience in our D2L has significantly changed. So when the learner first comes in, they receive a survey and it says, here's the rubric, where would you like to begin? So they can say, I have experience in this area. I'm ready to take the assessment. I want a diagnostic. I want to have that personalized learning plan so I know where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are, so I can target my time accordingly. Or I don't have any experience and I need to be guided. I need to have a schedule in place. I need some structure, and I need you to tell me exactly what I need to do and when I should have it done by. The middle section of this slide just details a scenario. So we take them through the rubric. We offer a workplace scenario, and then we offer a video, and we try to make it as realistic as possible so they actually feel like they're a part of a team in a workplace. So we say, you're working for this company, this is your team, here's your supervisors, these are the deliverables that you might have, this is what's expected of you. And so that really outlines it. And then in D2L, we have an interactive rubric. So it's our rubric that we've copied into D2L, and this makes it easier for the instructor to post feedback. So we upload the rubric for the instructors, and then they can go in and say, offer their feedback, this 1-point feedback, they're either developing or competent, and that helps the learner gauge where they are and where they need to go. So that concludes my presentation, and I would like to open it up right now for any questions or closing remarks.
I have a question.
Okay.
So, like I said earlier, being part of a respiratory therapy program, in the CTE program, we work off of competency. Everything's all, and we have an advisory board, and we use external partnerships. My challenge in presenting this to the rest of the campus is, who are the external partners? And I've had instructors, faculty come to me and say, who would we have on our advisory board? Because if you're getting a AA degree for transfer, that's your goal. It's not an AA degree or an AS degree to go get a job.
Right.
So there's like this extended period of time where they're still working towards a career, but also a degree.
Right.
But we don't, yeah. So I'm just curious what suggestions are out there to put on people to be on the advisory board.
Right. Our advisory boards are, a lot of them have worked in the industry. And so that's how they've gotten involved. And also the instructors that we have usually have come from industry. And so they're subject matter experts. And then they can also kind of lean on their colleagues and their networks. In our IT sector, we started to develop a competency-based education program that we hadn't offered in this traditional manner. And so we actually cold called folks. We found on LinkedIn to say, excuse me, would you like to be a part of this program? Are there others that can help with that question?
I can't help it. I had a question. Are all of these programs that you're describing, are they fully online programs, or are they hybrid or in person?
Some of them are online, some of them are hybrid, and some of them, depending on the regulation, some of them are in person.
Okay.
So some of our health industries, there's regulation, and international learners have a seat time requirement.
Mm.
So then we offer a hybrid or a seat time. So we kind of have to follow those regulations.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other questions, comments? Well, you can always reach out to me. I'm going to put it in the chat, my email address, or you can find me on LinkedIn. But thank you very much for your great participation today. And that concludes the session. Enjoy the conference. Okay, bye everyone.